declaring that.
Okay. So I wanted to refer to the appeal document that I had submitted to the committee, and I'll just work through that. And in the appeal, by way of background, what's happened here is the city, and on page 2 of the appeal, we have a kind of a document that shows the web page that the city has put up, and they did a street project in West Salt Lake City on 900 West, and in it, it's called the 900 West Lane reconfiguration, and it's typically a cross-nation road guide is what they call it, where they reduce 4 lanes to 2, and you see they have a picture there on page 2 of my appeal where I show, and then they indicate that what this is going to do for the community, that it'll make the road safer because it'll reduce accidents by 19 to 29%. We'll have a reduction in car crashes. So when this first came out, they did some outreach, like through the community council in our particular neighborhood. That was the only outreach they did. And then on page 6 of the appeal, I show a picture here where we had a community meeting in February 2017 and asked transportation to come to the meeting because neighbors that have lived on 900 West their entire life had concerns about it, and they refused to come to the meeting. And then what happens is on page, let's see, 23 of the appeal here, of my written appeal that I submitted, it has a picture there of, we start getting accidents in October. August of 2017 is when the road guy got done, and then neighbors are telling me there's accidents now all the time. So I go get pictures, or neighbors will send me pictures, and I was posting them on Facebook saying, accidents aren't down, like the transportation department said, and what longtime neighbors, people that have lived there all their lives, are predicting that this wouldn't work. And indeed, now we're seeing on page 23, I show you a picture there, and then each of these pages will show pictures of that going on, pictures of accidents that are now happening. And then if you jump over to page 32, what happened is the transportation division, let's see here. Let's go to page 26 first. On page 26, the transportation division responded to one of my tweets earlier this year, and they said that, and you'll see right here, it's from Salt Lake City Transportation, it says, based on crash data we have pulled from reported to Salt Lake City Police Department crashes, the numbers are lower than 2016 numbers and the same as 2015 numbers. We need at least a year of data to go on. But they're saying here, telling us through a tweet, they refuse to meet with us, but they'll tell us through a tweet that we're wrong, that accidents are not up to what we're seeing. Then on page 32, what they, I guess, we're not aware of is that the Salt Lake City Police Department has this unit called ComStat, and they publish everything in weekly reports, and you can go on this ComStat and look at a map of a particular area of Salt Lake. You can filter it, you can do it by dates, and you can say, I want to see all the traffic issues that occurred during this time period. So we looked at it over a 3-year period, and when you look at the icons for traffic, then you can click on each of them and find out which one were crashes, which one were traffic tickets, which one were traffic stops of that nature, or towing. We sort through it, and we made this graph that you see below, where we can demonstrate that in this particular area of 900 West, the data that we were able to look at the time confirms what residents were seeing, is that you were averaging 0 to 1 accidents a month in this particular area, and in this time we were averaging 9. Today we're averaging about 15 accidents per month, where we were initially only having 0 to 1. So that's where we did submit a GRAMA request, and you see on page 33, I put on Twitter, just filed a GRAMA appeal to the mayor's office, and what we were asking for at that point was traffic accident reports that substantiated their claim that accidents were down. We get the accident reports, and we were given initially just a graph, and if you look on page 34 of my appeal, there's a picture on the bottom of another community meeting that we had that We had asked transportation to attend. They said they would. Our city council member attended, but then no transportation people showed up. And on the top of page 34, this is an informational graphic that they gave us showing that accidents are up. So even by their own data, they now are telling us here that accidents are up. Then we asked, well, where's the traffic reports or the crash reports that go with this? And they gave those to us. They didn't charge us for them. They volunteered and said, okay, we're giving them to you. And then when we noticed that some were missing, some accident reports were missing, we did a subsequent GRAMA request. And again, the city then provides us with those without charging us for them. And they said in their response that for various reasons they're giving us these reports that they're typically $15 a report or $10 a report, and they're going to give them to us free of charge. And we were able to again confirm that accidents were up. The data was definitely showing that. And then on page 43, there's a meeting that we had in April of this year with the mayor's office about this issue and saying, hey, the transportation division won't meet with us. They've been deceitful in terms of using the social media to claim that accidents are down when indeed they were not. And this is now becoming a crisis in the community because you're in a low-income neighborhood now contributing to the cycles of poverty by people now being involved in accidents on a much more frequent basis because of this poor road design. The mayor's office committed to getting us in a meeting with transportation department. That was in April of this year. Then on page 43, if you just look and flip through the pages on this, these are all the accidents. And these are just the ones that I'm able to take a picture of when somebody sends me a text and says, hey, there's an accident over here, I'm able to get to it. And there's a number of them I'm not able to get to, but these are the ones, and you'll flip through the pages here, and as I am able to get them, I put them on social media to show that accidents are up. And so that's the background of this issue. And so, you know, you can see for yourself that accidents are up. So our concern, if you go to the mayor's office, when we did a GRAMA request, they said they're going to charge us, you know, I think $99 for these records. And in this particular thing, and we'll get to what the list is of what we're asking for, we're saying if you're not going to meet with us, if you're going to lie about what the data is on social media, and that's going to be your form of communication, then we need to have this data so we can figure out what's going on in our community, but we're not going to pay for it either. And what's very concerning to us is in the mayor's response, when we appealed that on page 2 of the mayor's response, they claim, the mayor's office says, other than a conclusionary statement, you have failed to demonstrate that a fee waiver benefits the public generally. And then they say here that that your request for all data and information from multiple city employees and sources is overly broad and would require significant staff time. It says the record subject to your request would not significantly contribute to the public's understanding of the operations of the city. And the point is there is, and it says your appeal is denied. The point is then how are we going to understand the operations of the city? If they're going to put a road project in our neighborhood, refuse to meet with us, lie to us through social media, then GRAMA is the only other avenue we have to do that. And we would definitely dispute the mayor's office conclusion that this doesn't benefit the public, and that, you know, that it doesn't significantly contribute to the public's understanding of the operations of the city if we were to get these documents. We don't agree with that whatsoever. Lastly, if we go to the response that we received from the city attorney's office in response to filing the GRAMA request with this committee, on page 1, we're told that she lists what we're asking for. All data and information used by the Transportation Division is the number one thing that we're asking for, to conclude that reducing the lanes on 900 West and Poplar Grove area would result in a 19 to 29% reduction in crashes. And then the second thing, traffic counts used to justify the lane reduction, current traffic counts on 900 West, and then the agendas and minutes to meetings where they went to community council meetings, copies of mailings, addresses of mailings, and then the last one is all data and information used by Transportation Division to support the claim that there's a 24% reduction in crashes and 29% decrease in California Avenue. What ends up happening is after we file the GRAMA request and we get denied by the city and we file our appeal with this body here, it comes to our attention that we get number 2 on our list, traffic counts used to justify the lane reduction. We get that. That's one page. Number 3, it says current traffic counts on 900 West and Poplar Grove. That is given to us. That's another page. So that's 2 pages here. And then the city tells us that agendas and minutes they don't have, copies of mailings they don't have, addresses and mailings they don't have. And then all the data and information that they say about the California Avenue is on the webpage, and that we can look on the webpage now. The other thing that they did is, and you can see this graph here, the city then publishes their own numbers about the crashes. So they were disputing our conclusion that accidents were up, and you can't see it from where you're sitting, but these yellow bars, that's this year. That's the first 6 months of this year in comparison to previous years, which is consistent with what we were seeing. The data that we had showed us that accidents were indeed up. Now the city is coming clean and saying that the data does support that, and they're showing that on the graph. The thing that's missing here, we initially is number 1. All data and information used by the Transportation Division to conclude that reducing the length on 900 West would result in a safer road is really what we're asking for. The federal government, for example, and that's what we're missing. So the federal government put out this road diet information guide, and in it has a number of criteria that a traffic agency would go through to determine if this road is a good candidate, like looking at if it's a good candidate for a road diet. And so we initially said this was unreasonable for the 2 reasons that I said. That we're not paying for something. We don't feel we should have to pay for records that say, when you don't want to meet with us and then you want to be deceitful on social media. In the response that Attorney Paulus gave to this committee, she says that the bulk of the information that we requested has been given to us. And so our concern now is that when you look at what's been given us, we've only been given 2 pieces of paper. And the other issue that now is that we can get the rest of the information online. So if the bulk of that, I assume that the bulk of that means that the majority of it, then the fee really wasn't reasonable. So had we paid the fee initially, we would have paid for stuff that was already online, and we would have ended up paying for 2 pages of information, and that's unreasonable. And so what we're missing right now is really the information that's more vital to our and again, because we can't meet with, or they refuse to meet with us, and our city council member has asked them to also, they won't meet. Then we're left to, when we go look at the road diet guidelines that the federal government gives, and what they say here is they say that when you do a road diet, while a road diet can improve safety and accommodate motorized and non-motorized transportation modes along the corridor, they may not be appropriate or feasible in all locations. There are many factors to consider before implementing a road diet. Agencies should consider the objective of the road diet, which would be one of the following. And one is improve safety, which is we were told, and that was on their webpage, they since taken it down, that was why they were going to do the road diet. And so some of the factors that they should have looked at, according to the national standards, is that one of the primary reasons for a road diet installation is to address and identify crash problems. Four-lane undivided highways have inherent design aspects that make them susceptible to crashes. What we have here is the opposite. We had 4 lanes that they reduced down to 2 lanes, and now we have a crash problem. And they won't give us an explanation for it. And then, it says overall, going back to the federal standards, overall, the statistical analysis of road diet conversion safety impact has shown a range of positive results with differences often related to whether the installation occurred in rural or urban areas. And then it talks about the feasibility that needs to be looked at. And then lastly, it talks about that you have to look at the amount of vehicles that travel on there a day. And for example, it says that the average daily, they determined that if you have 10,000 vehicles a day and under, then it's feasible to do a road diet. If you go beyond that, it says you're going to create congestion and then you're going to increase your rear-end collisions. We're averaging 16,000 vehicles a day, which is consistent to what we're seeing. So what we've been able to do in the absence of being able to meet with the Transportation Division, we've been able to read the study and the guidelines and say, yeah, this doesn't fit. You should have never put a road diet in our neighborhood because we exceed the amount of vehicles per day. So at this point where we're at is we want to go back and say, so what did you use? What is the information that the Transportation Division used to make this determination? And that's what's at issue today, that they refuse to give to us, that they're saying we'll give you, but you're going to pay $99 for it. And we're saying that's an unreasonable fee, number one, under the circumstances, and number two, if according to the city's attorney, the bulk of the information has been given to us, then what are we paying for now with this remaining information that we need? Thank you.